Love it every time. Love it.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
So yes, the name of the new episode is Siren's Song. We'll find out what that is all about. I
It
suppose
means nothing.
I suppose we should do a little bit of group therapy, perhaps. I
Always.
think, yeah, we should like catch up on where we were and kind of talk about how the end of last episode ended. It was actually kind of a crazy scene, for real. All the characters were gathered on this hill, the top of the top of the hill just outside of Eigner's house in Bronzewood Grove, and they were looking out at this insane vision of one district of the city getting completely taken over by this massive Feywild tree that grew up from below in the sewers and just exploded up and devastated an entire district. And Ellie gave Eigner the ability to see it all happen, and all he had to say was, fuck.
As did Rue.
Yeah, it's true. So, who wants to start group therapy?
Fine, I'll do it.
Cool.
Okay.
Um, actually, simpler than usual because Leah currently still has a nasty ass migraine.
Mm-hmm.
And like she's slightly more lucid than she was thanks to some fancy herbs from Senna, but that didn't actually cure her. So she's feeling sick and dazed and migraine heavy, and also missed a lot of the mysterious ongoings that normally would result in her asking a lot of perturbed questions, but she didn't notice any of them. So basically, the only thing on her mind right now is just keeping an eye on Eridu to make sure he doesn't tix out. Not that she'd be able to do anything about it if he did. Um, and then waiting for an opportunity to talk to Eigner, although she is aware at the moment that she's not actually in a good place to do that, being how she's all um, broken. So mostly she's just kind of, well, until they all went outside and saw that crazy tree thing, she was just kind of trying to ride out the storm, and also feeling vaguely embarrassed because she has a vague memory of vomiting on Halifax's shoes and Eridu's feet at different times, and so it's undignified, and she's not really interested in looking Halifax in the eye anytime soon either. So that's where she's at.
Mm-hmm. I suppose I'll go with Agner next. Agner is feeling rather overwhelmed because, so if you had tuned into last episode, you will know that for the vast majority of the episode, Agner was there, but he wasn't really in control of himself because he got full on possessed by none other than Urana, also known as Joro, Weaver of Shadows. Um, so yeah, so he was just a vessel for a very sassy and very unsettling deity that was leading the characters around on this pretty wild little goose chase type whatever. Um, the entire time that was happening, Agner was stuck mentally in this loop of just hunting down the boar like he was trying to do at the very beginning of the episode before Urana took over. So when he snapped out of it, first thing he said was, "Did I get that boar though?" He had absolutely no idea all the crazy shit that had happened. So, and the characters honestly didn't really do a great job of like filling him in necessarily. There's a lot of details yet for him to uncover, but he has realized that he's maybe in some kind of weird, like, toxic, codependent relationship with this goddess. So there's that. And then, of course, seeing the destruction that just unfolded in Twin Harbor is a shock to the system. And to top it all off, he caught out of the corner of his eye what Eridu looks like now after Eridu did a Dragon Ball Z type fusion with the Fey Lord Tix. Wait, no. You go that way, I'll go this way. Fusion.
I don't know if we can do this.
Wait.
I'm not. Hold on. Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
there we go.
Fusion.
It only works on our screen because on everyone else's screen on Twitch, we're not actually side by side. So there's that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, crap.
Instead of doing Lord of the Rings references, we're just going to make Dragon Ball Z references from now on.
Exactly.
So there's like those major three things for Eigner. It's like coming to grips with what the hell happened when he was out of the loop. It's realizing that an entire district of Twin Harbor has just been decimated. And it's also realizing Eridu's back, but what the hell happened to Eridu? You know? So it's a lot for him to process, and we'll see how he does in trying to process all that. Yeah.
I'll go next because I feel like Ellie's a natural progression from that. Though I will point out how the majority of Ellie's group therapy revolve around Eigner, yet none of Eigner's group therapies ever talk about Ellie. Like, no, you know, they had like a little moment outside where she did this big speech about like how great he is. Not bothered.
I mean, is it not understandable that there's a lot of other shit going on?
Well, we'll see with Ellie.
Is it not understandable?
Eridu's got a bit to do with Ellie because I mean he kind of lied to her, so there's that.
Well, maybe I need to change focuses, but he's a tree man.
But
now, so I don't know.
I do believe your shaming made sure that we remind ourselves that Ellie affects our emotions too. It's not just Leah telling us all how to feel.
Anyway, okay, Ellie is. I don't really know. She spent a very long time of last episode being very angry, but like a more like steady, level-headed angry than the last time she was really angry. She's sort of been almost given like more of a purpose now because, oh, that God, just really wound her up, and you know. So now Ellie's like start on trying to basically save Eigner from this god. And so she went through the whole thing of being really worried about him and like being by his bedside when he was like unconscious. And she went and destroyed the shrine that he built for her. And then basically, yeah, so I kind of said before she went out and they had a bit of a conversation on the hill where she sort of poured out all of this like encouraging stuff about how he's actually a really good person and he doesn't need that god and like he has to get away from it. And then it was basically like just not like thrown back in her face, but not taken the way she'd intended it to be taken. Like he was just kind of like, yeah, I get that, but you know, God. So and then shit happened, and then Twin Harbors erupted into a tree. So she's kind of a bit in shock. And yeah, made Eigner be able to see it as well. And that's kind of where she is, a little bit unsure of things.
Understandable.
Halifax has taken time to process everything that he's seen and heard over the last little while, and is just feeling contemplative, almost as though he needs a refresher at some point. Like he's just going to be a little checked out because it's all been so much, and that's where he's at right now.
Drew, would you like me to send you the big chunk of time?
The homework starts now.
You won't have time
If
to
you
read
have it ready to go, yes, if that's all right.
Maybe a break.
Well, all right. In that case, take it away, Asa.
Well, okay. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I had a research video I was doing. Research. I was trying to figure out what Zellar's force was, so I was kind of trying to find that episode. Sorry. So I've got two characters who have opinions and thoughts.
Ooh.
Because Eridu, for one, is just going through a thing. He's absorbing the essence of Tix. He's trying to keep it locked away in his little mental space with all his other emotions locked into little boxes so that Leah can't expand them more and influence him in a way that that she wouldn't want to be influencing him. So he's just kind of got this constant thing happening where he's at war with in his own mind. And then he had a conversation with Ellie on the side where she's like, "Hey, like, we should kind of ease, be gentle about the way that we let Eigner know what's going on, but we got to be honest with him. And I don't want to lie to him about anything." And so then apparently Eridu interpreted that as, "All right, I guess I'll lie to him," and attempted to take on the whole blame of the conflict between Urana and Tix, and kind of take all that and make it seem like no one else was involved. On the hopes that, his and Eigner's friendship will endure strong enough that Eigner won't resent him for the fact that Urana's just a big, big bee. That didn't really go so well. So, with that, he kind of had to come clean a little bit, but still only said enough. And probably pissed off Ellie in the meantime, and definitely got an eyebrow raise from Leah. And yeah, Eridu is not wearing a lot of clothes. This is true. And Rue's going through one of those moments where, like, everyone around him is engaged in emotions, and he doesn't know how to feel. He really doesn't trust Eridu. Kind of views him as an absolute threat to the safety of his dear friends. And I think at the moment Rue is just sort of, he would like to keep close to Ellie just for that safety of, that's his mommy. That's pretty much it. So
Your two characters are such in conflict with each other.
I did that on purpose. I wanted to make sure that they didn't mesh well, so that it would be very useful for me to have them not work as a cohesive unit.
All right.
Also,
Excellent.
It means whenever I play them both, I'm just having them fight with each other. All right, so you guys remind me. Did Zellar have a bit of like a Scottishness to his voice, or did I just do deep, scratchy voice?
It had like a bit of a tinge to it, a bit of a tinge of an accent, but it was more just like the delivery. He's just like very kind of terse and very just like upfront, like, "Hey, no, this is what's happening." Blah blah blah.
That's what I thought, and it's funny because I wrote this letter, and then I was like, these words are too wordy. This is an Eridu letter. This is not a Zellar letter.
Straight
So
up.
I had to rewrite it. So we're doing a quick, just cut back to a moment when Ellie had a chance to finally finish deciphering Zellar's letter that Rasputin had delivered. Dearest Ellie, I am dead. Please, don't mourn me long. I don't deserve it. I am sorry. I have not been a good friend, and I may have put Ren in greater danger. The people we left him with cannot be trusted. I will tell you more in time. Suffice it to say that I have played a part in their rise to power. In doing so, I believe I have done worse than endanger your brother. I hope that you can forgive me, your friend Zellar. P.S. Find Leovan. He will tell you more.
Sweet.
So, you are standing in Bronzewood Grove. Halifax is pointing off into the distance, and all of your eyes follow his finger. And as they do, you see this torrent of wind cycloning down to the nearest island, specifically the island that held Revolutionary Square and the Cornerstone. And sorry, I'm having to keep coughing. And as you watch this spiral, there begins to be this swirling of energies at its base, very Feywild-esque. And then as they sort of coalesce and build up, there's just this eruption as in inhuman speeds a tree just bursts from the ground and grows larger and larger. In doing so, you can see, those of you who are able to see, um, bits of debris flying off of its surface, cascading from its winding branches. And when it is finished, there is this massive tree growing out of the nearest island of Twin Harbors. And in all of this chaos, you hear nothing. Not the sounds of the rubble as it hits the ground or splashes into the river. Not the sounds of the screaming, injured and dying. No sounds reach Bromwood Grove. What do you do?
Well, I will take the last moment and have that be the first moment. Fuck.
And as a reminder, Ellie has come up and given Eigner the ability to see this.
Mm-hmm. He sees it. He says fuck. He looks over and sees Eridu as a Tyx creature, a Feywild cross between regular Eridu and some kind of Fey wild creature. And he says, fuck.
And
then
Rue has stepped to Eridu's other side and says, fuck. That is where we had left off.
Mm-hmm.
As you all marvel wordlessly at the event before you, you hear a soft voice from behind you. So he has done it. At least someone has fulfilled his destiny.
Eigner whirls around to see who that is because he still has sight, but actually he wouldn't be able to recognize who it was if
Halifax
it
will also
wasn't
turn
there.
around and have a look.
Yeah, standing behind you is a very, very old woman. The pointed ears reveal her to be an elf. Her long gray hair is braided down in two sides, or down both sides of her head. She wears humbly fine clothing, something like you would see on a gypsy. She's got, like just long flowing scarves, many ring band bracelets. What are those called? Ones that are just rings that you just put around your wrist.
Bangles.
Bangles. Thank you.
Bangles. Word.
And her eyes are fixed on Eridu, but it is the figure that is known as Senna.
Senna.
I figured.
Well, Egner would recognize her voice, definitely, and he has a history in the past episode of being just kind of gruff with Senna. They don't have much of a friendship or anything like that. So he narrows his eyes, taking in every detail of Senna, like trying to commit it to memory because he knows he's not going to be able to see what this person looks like later. And he narrows his eyes and says, "What destiny could that be?"
She turns and reaches into her robes and pulls out a deck of cards, not looking at any of you, and begins to shuffle them and says, "All he told me is he wanted to make a home for his people. It seems he's done that."
Were you working with him?
Not per se. We had similar goals. Both of us viewed Tix as a threat, saw the need to have him eliminated, something all of you failed to do. Aside from that, our working arrangement was very limited.
Were you and Leovan working with Joro?
That was more his arrangement than mine. Although she did serve a useful tool in providing an opening to put an end to ticks.
Oh, opening, as in, did you have something to do with her coming here?
No, I had something to do with her being willing to take you through the Feywild.
Did he have something to do with her coming here?
I believe the only person that you can credit with Joro's appearance on this plane is her and Eigner.
Look,
Without that bond, she wouldn't have come.
Egner,
Uh-huh.
by this point, Egner is like the light is starting to dim on him, and he kind of like has an involuntary like freak out reaction from that because it's like it's just an understandable reaction for him to have, even though he's gone through this a couple of times now. Logically, he understands that he's going to be blind again. It still freaks him out when it actually starts to happen, and then yeah, so with the jolt he throws his arms up and he's like, "Look, I had nothing to do with this. I mean, I didn't invite this to happen. I didn't want any of this to happen." And now the blindness takes over. And he points wildly in the other direction and says, "And if I knew that was going to happen, then I wouldn't have allowed it."
Eigner, that's an exact. That's a result of your connection with her.
Um, Agner doesn't see it because his blindness goes, but at this, um, Senna does look up at him, and her face softens as she steps toward him. And when she comes close, he feels her hand caress his cheek, and she whispers, "No one wants these things to happen. No one wants to be a tool. But when you have a tool available to you, you use it." And then Agner hears the sound of something being torn in half and then placed into his palm. It's one of her cards, and it is severed into. Those of you who are not Agner sees that it is in fact the Eight of Swords.
Damn. Egner's hand curls around the cards. It's like he doesn't even ask what card it is. It's almost like he kind of knows on some kind of instinctive level what card it would be. And he just whispers back, "So that's all that is. I'm a tool. That's what I am."
To some, but not to you. To you, you are an end in itself. You are your own person. And you are only a tool to those that you allow to abuse you. She says it's loud enough for everyone else to hear.
Egner takes the crumpled bits of the tarot card and just throws them behind his shoulder and slinks over to where the fire is, where he left the bottle of whiskey, and he takes a big, long swig wordlessly.
There is so much I don't understand here. Did Dora would never mind. I just realized actually that Leah doesn't have that piece of information because she was busy being sick. So I forget that Leah said anything because she doesn't actually know that.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say instead. It's fine. Move on.
I think I would just ask, what is that thing? And point towards the tree.
It appears to be a home. A home for the druids to flock back to.
But it's a tree in the middle of the city.
These questions would be better spent on Leovan. I'm afraid
But
I
he's
don't
not
have
here.
his answers.
He's gone. Okay, well then I guess we're going to Twin Harbors.
Is there even anything we can do?
We can find Leovan.
All right.
Alan has come and has been standing with you all as a group, and he's kept his eyes on the city. And is quietly muttering to itself. Well, that's it, is it? The last of it's all gone. And Rue has perked up and looked at him. My home? The Cornerstone? They were in that district. My kids disappeared when, the drug-addled mutants appeared. My wife left when she couldn't handle anymore. And then he, wipes his tears away and looks at Rue and smiles. Well, at least we have the future for our new bar, It's always good to have a hope. And then he, begins to walk off. Rue places a hand on his shoulder and says, Do not be sad, Alan. Best friend. We have each other.
Oh, it's so cute. I can't stay away from this. Eigner walks over as well and hands Alan the bottle of whiskey, which, you know, by this point probably has a lot of backwash in it, but whatever. Like he hands Alan the whiskey and he says, "At least we saved the private stock. We have that. We have that. And what's more, Alan, it looks like Twin Harbor's becoming pretty damn inhospitable. As much as I don't like the idea of getting closer to that freaky tree out there, I think it would be a good idea for us to go down there. Try and evacuate as many people as we can from the city. Bring them back here. I think I can find some people to help you build your new bar."
Alan, nods and... Thank you, Eigner. I don't drink, or make a habit of drinking my sorrows away, but I do drink to celebrate. To the new bar, and to saving lives. And he takes a big swig.
Here, here.
Halifax, what you doing?
That is a very good question. I think definitely staring over the vista of Twin Harbor. This to him will be representative of a deep failure for him. He's always had this optimistic view that through any hardship he'd be able to save people, help people. And this is a point where he's conceding that it looks like Twin Harbor is a lost cause. Like there was no obvious solution. And Halifax does not like that feeling. I think Halifax is going to consider going and joining Eigner in consuming copious amounts of alcohol, and then just realize that he's not about that life, and just go and sit and watch, like make himself watch, even though it's uncomfortable. He needs to remember this. He needs to make sure that he feels the full weight of it, so he avoids it again in the future.
Would a 19 insight pick up Halifax's feelings and his just general sense of downtroddenness?
I'd say, yeah, he'd be trying to hide it, but something like that would would see through it.
All right. um, Eridu has turned his back on Senna. Very clearly, he understands that her disdain is directed toward him and has no interest in engaging. But he'll stand next to Halifax, staring at the tree, and he'll say, "Seems like everything we did to keep the city safe. Seems like going to the Feywild with that bomb. Confronting Tix was all a waste now, wasn't it? We didn't save anything."
Oh, now Eridu, that's not entirely true. We kept hope alive just a few days more. And that in itself has a value.
Eridu will look at him. His skin's still a little bit barking. A flicker of emerald fire in the deep pits of his eyes, and he says, "Do you truly believe that?"
I do. There is a great deal more that I feel I could have done. But I've done what I have done, and all of it was in service of helping. We all did what we could. Things sometimes burn. That doesn't mean we must simply accept it. We are mortal after all. Now we mourn.
Can we do more than mourn, though? Can we help the people who might still be alive?
How would we get close to them?
Well, I think the first step would just be to head to the city.
You truly think there are some left?
Well, it appears the tree has only damaged a part of the city. There are
That
still
is
other
true.
parts.
You're right. Perhaps there is something to salvage from all this. Yes.
Can I
Yes,
say that Leah was overhearing some of this conversation?
I think that would make sense. She seems like she'd be hovering in that group.
Yeah. She definitely is having a mix of emotions from that. But she will take a small step forward and say, there are survivors in the forest, not that may be also in need of our help. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go into the city and see if we can find more. I'm saying that we should and try and build something new if we can. There are still people who remain that we can assist in any way possible, even though we couldn't prevent the devastation that happened.
Then it seems that it behooves us to act. Perhaps we should head towards the city, see what we can do there, and then swing around to the forests. The people, the survivors there, will they be relatively safe?
They seem stable enough on their own at the moment. Ellie can also provide details on that. She was with me when we encountered them. They have supplies. They have a small amount of safety. I think there will be greater strength in numbers, but we have to convince them that we're not a threat to them, or rather that Bronzewood Grove is not a threat.
In fact, given that, the most amount of good that we could possibly do would be to definitely help at least one group. If we swing by the forest group and see if there's any supplies or anything that they might be able to get from the city. We could then enter the city, help them, and see if we could find more survivors. Simultaneously asking if we can bring those more survivors to them, or if we have to relocate them elsewhere.
I'm gonna, because so at this point I think Ellie's been sort of like very quietly like gritting her teeth, and I think her fists have been like clenching and unclenching because she's just like dealing with anger at this point. And at that, I'm just gonna cut across and say, no, we don't have time. I can get a message to them, but we need to go into the city and we need to find Leoben now.
All right.
Is that going to mean getting closer to that freaky ass tree? Because I'm not
Yes.
sure if that's a great idea.
Well, yes, it means getting closer to the tree. But, you know, it's kind of our fault that it's here. So maybe it's, I mean, I say our fault, but. So maybe it's up to us to, you know, try and get rid of it.
Oh, that's great. I'll just take my long sword out. I'll start chopping. You know, maybe in like 5 years, I'll make it through. You know, quarter of the way through the trunk or something. You know.
Oh, I'm holding
like-
back so many comments.
Oh,
Oh,
snarky Eigner.
if he's talking back to her like that, okay. Well, why don't you ask your new friend to get rid of it?
Ooh. Ouch.
I mean, sure. I don't know if she'll listen. Look, I'm still not very good at this whole praying thing. I mean, if you want me to do that, I can try.
No,
For sure.
no praying.
Okay, then I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna
It
get
was
the message
sarcasm,
across.
Eigner.
Wait, look. What I'm trying to say is that something like that, and he points over in the general direction of the tree. Maybe he's a little bit off. You know, something like that is.
He's actually pointing the opposite direction instead of pointing like south, southwest. He's pointing northwest.
Maybe he's pointing at Eridu.
Maybe. Everybody's like,
Totally unintentionally. Well, something like that is a little bit more than we can really deal with at the moment. I mean, I wish I had a 50-foot tall axe. I wish I did.
Well,
I do not think we are suggesting destroying the tree, Eigner. I believe that we are suggesting finding those we can help and doing what we can to.
No, that's
Fine.
what I'm talking about. Ellie is talking about going to ground zero.
Ellie, what do you think will be accomplished by finding Leoben? Do you think we'll be able to persuade him to reverse what he's done? Or are you just after punishing him for what he's done?
I have questions to ask.
Of
We need to know why you did this.
Well, that would be important to learn, absolutely. I'm not sure if that should be our first priority.
Well, it's my first priority.
Well, if we have to go into the city anyway to try and help people, then we can also try to find Leoben there. Although I prefer the idea of stopping by that settlement first. Yeah,
The
provided that we.
communication-
What's that?
Sorry. The communication with them is the important thing. Ellie says that she could get a message. A compromise, perhaps, would be in order. We travel to the city quickly, giving us a greater chance of potentially running into Leoben, but the survivors be our priority while we're there, and a message is sent to the forest group, therefore giving us more time in the city.
Fair. In any case, I imagine we'll be leaving soon. I have to get my armor. And Eigner takes, he rips the bottle out of Alan's hands once again, takes one more swig, and then sulks off to his house where his armor and his sword and all that good stuff still is.
Leah's going to turn to the others and say, with the amount of drinking he does, how is he able to function?
He has a godly liver.
Mm. Look at Eridu with like pure like dead eyes.
Too soon, man.
Too soon.
This liver is just divine. Oh my god.
That was actually better than mine.
Yeah. Look,
All right.
Eigner is hashtag blessed. Let's let's say that.
All right. So unless there's more to do, I'm gonna move us along a little bit.
Fair.
Just really quick while they're walking, while everyone's like dispersing, Leah will like turn slightly toward Halifax without actually looking at it in his eyes, and say, "Thank you for your help, and I'm sorry about the vomit." And then she will walk off.
Yeah, I don't think Eridu's going to say Eridu. I'm not Eridu. I don't think Halifax is going to say anything after her. In fact, he's going to just go, yeah, that was kind of an embarrassing thing. I'll just not say anything.
Yeah, they continue to not talk to each other in the way possible.
There it is. Like
It's the best way to handle things.
she
Yeah,
she puked on my feet too.
What did Arity say?
She puked on my feet too. Where is my apology?
She already apologized to Eridu profusely.
That's true, I guess. All right. So as you guys make your way towards Twin Harbor, the road to Twin Harbor is, or the journey to Twin Harbor is solemn. The roads are fairly empty. Few are making their way from the city, and even fewer are headed toward it. Those leaving are injured and seem scared, and those headed towards the city are either curious peasants or are very stoic soldiers who seem to be marching into battle. None pay any mind to the party at all. And with that, we're going to cut back to a moment where Leah visited someone's dream. So, I believe an idea was brought up a few sessions back in a one-shot we were doing that Leah was going to attempt to reach out to Ren through his dreams. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, in your attempt to, I've been calling it dream walking. I think it's there's actually a spell you're using from the game, but I don't know which one.
It's just called Dream.
Okay.
Dream.
So, you stand in a stone room. The walls, the ceilings, the floor, everything is just hewn from stone, and it's all just one big block, like just carved this whole square out of the existing stone. There are no windows, there are no doors. There are sigils all along the wall, all different, all in Dwarven. Do you speak Dwarven at all, Leah?
Oh, I do not. Sorry, I shook my head, but I didn't actually.
Oh, I wasn't looking at the.
Figure.
Okay. There is a bed that, like, the bed frame rises up out of the stone. It's also made of stone, and it looks like it is just fused with the floor itself. The bed spread is a comfortable cushion. There are two figures laying in it. One appears to be a person with short hair laying face down against the face buried in the pillow, and the other is a beautiful woman, and she is laying next to him, and her eyes are open and they're fixed on you. What are you gonna do?
Well, let's do a slight backtrack just to the fact that Ellie, I believe, would be right next to Leah while Leah's doing this spell. And have they already discussed in advance that, like, the questions that Leah is going to ask or what she's going to try to find out, or any message that Ellie wants to deliver to Ren?
I mean, I guess we probably would have done. I guess to try and find out like where he is, if he's okay, and letting him know that I'm coming to get him, maybe. But other than that, just whatever you think is right, and we'll say that's what we decided to say.
Okay. Then she'll look at this beautiful woman. Were you?
I should be asking you the same question. This is not your room.
I'm here to talk to Ren.
She looks over at the dark-haired figure with his face in the pillow and says, "I'm afraid he's indisposed at the moment. Could I take a message?" She says this, she stands, the blankets slip away from her naked body, and she starts to dress. "I'm sorry that I'm in inappropriate attire, but you have come to our bedchambers in the middle of the night. I don't know what else you would expect."
How old is Ren? I thought he was a child.
Yeah, he's meant to be a child.
He's meant to be a child? I wrote all this, I'm thinking he was like a teenager. That is fucked. It's okay.
Woo!
Don't know.
Retcon.
Pedophilia.
Retcon.
I totally thought he was like an
How old did you
older
say he was?
teenager.
I thought he was like 10, 11, 12, like...
It's
Too
too
many
it's
kids
too
in
late. Too late. We got to retcon it. He's an older teenager now.
He's an older teenager now. Like,
Time passes faster in dwarven cities.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, fair. That'll be weird, but sure. Be interesting.
That was like that
Alright.
part. That was like that part where I just assumed that Senna was like could see, and then
Right.
Ace is like, "Oh no, she's blind."
she's
And
blind.
I'm like, "Wait,
Nope.
no, wait, really? No."
He's totally like, we'll call it 17. This lady's too old for him, but 17 is totally the kind of age you'd be like, "Oh yeah, pretty woman, cool."
Oh, are we going with that's unusual, or that's how old he was from the beginning? Like, just for me to know whether Ellie expects him to be like 10, or...
Ooh, I really like the idea of that's unusual. We're gonna go with that. He is older than he is supposed to be. Retcon made.
Retcon.
Let's not make this awkward.
That's
Okay.
going to be really cool for like dwarven society in that city as well. Like you could go outside, get annoyed with someone, go inside and seethe about it for years, and then come out and they think 5 minutes has passed and it's just a small faux pas. But you've been sat on this. This has been brewing for a while.
Maybe. All I'm gonna say is he has aged exponentially.
Yeah.
Don't know about anybody else.
Okay, well, in that case, Leah's going to look at the naked, well, the clothing herself woman, at the older teenager in the bed and say, "I'm so sorry, I must have the wrong dream," and then back out. And then turn to Ellie and say, I don't think I found your brother. I found a teenager at like an older. He was sleeping with a naked woman in the dream. That doesn't seem like an expected thing, is it? Right? No.
Can that happen with the spell? Like, you accidentally go to the wrong person? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I haven't done this very often. In fact, I've only done it once, and that was kind of an accident too.
I mean, can I, I don't know, I kind of check for whether Ellie would know that or not.
Well, actually, I did notice in the description of the spell, which Leah doesn't necessarily know, that you can touch a willing person and they can dream walk on your behalf. Which doesn't exactly work with Leah's powers, but we could find a way to make it work. So where Ellie's just like, "I'll just do it myself" or something, and Leah's like, "Can you do that?" And then try and figure it out. I don't know. That's my idea.
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah. Be interesting.
Can she dream walk into Ren's dream? Yes. Yes, you can have her do that.
Okay, then Leah will attempt to go into Ellie's head sort of, and show her what to do, and lead her along in that cloudy dreamscape, and say, "Well, this is where I was going."
Okay, at this point, I will need you to make a Some kind of
something?
check. Some kind of check, yes. Let's see.
Spell casting ability based check,
Let's
perhaps.
do it like a spellcasting attack.
Yeah, treat it like an attack roll. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Spell casting.
Uh,
Spell. Attack roll. Spell.
Spell
so
roll.
okay.
Spell roll.
That would be an 18, I guess.
That is exactly what I had set.
Well, there you
Okay.
go.
Uh, there's some resistance. You're working harder at focusing on the spell than you normally would be, and Ellie, you feel like you're pushing through some kind of membrane as you step into this room. You see the same thing, stone-hewn room, uh, all the different runes along the side, no doors, no windows. You do speak Dwarven, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Um, as you look at the runes, they do say things like door, desk, um, just things you would find around a living space. You see this beautiful woman as she is beginning to climb back into the bed, still wearing the clothes she put on, and then she looks at you and goes, "I thought I put up a ward against this. Why do people keep coming into our dreams?"
Uh, wait, I'm here. I'm meant to be in my brother's dream. Who are you?
Oh, some call me Siren. Who is your brother? I'll tell you if you found the right place, and if I can direct you out of here, I will.
My brother's called Ren.
She looks at the person in the bed. You're in the right space. This is Ren. He is not able to speak right now.
Yeah. Maybe it's a different Ren. The Ren my Ren's a lot younger than that.
She kind of straightens up and walks gracefully towards you. You're Ren. What were you coming here expecting? And as she says that, Ren turns in his sleep, and you can see clearly the space where his arm was severed.
Uh, uh, oh,
Or
um.
rather,
Well, I was expecting, I guess, a dwarven either prison or maybe hospital room, or maybe they put him in like living quarters. I don't know, but and I mean, I've not been gone that long. But
oh, she looks back at him, and then looks at you and laughs. Oh, the aging. That seems to be bothering you, doesn't it? It's fine. Let's just say that Ren is being well taken care of, and he is being trained. And he's doing quite marvelous at his training.
oh, oh, don't make me get sassy. Come on, it's not the right person for this.
It's true. Put Ellie face to face with another woman, and she's gonna get sassy. Actually, it doesn't
Get-
even matter.
get
It could be
sassy.
Ellie, too. She's just sassy.
And while we're here, may I ask why you are in bed with my supposed to be 10-year-old brother?
Because he's my husband.
Uh,
You don't know me.
there is no way that he got married in that amount of time without me knowing about it.
Well, there are plenty of ways that could have happened. You haven't been around for a while, Ellie.
talk to me like that? It's not for you to tell me whether I've been around or not. If you hadn't noticed, he's been imprisoned by the dwarves. Oh.
She walks over to the wall, presses a hand against it, and says open in Dwarven, and the rune that says door lights up, and then the stone melts away. He can leave whenever he wants. He knows our tongue. He knows how to activate everything in this room. He is no prisoner. This is his home, Ellie. He's happy here. He has a wife. He has a destiny. Your letters have been coming fewer and fewer, and you haven't been to visit in months.
Let me talk to him.
I'm afraid I can't do that. It's not in his best interest. He needs to rest.
You don't know what's in his best interests.
Excuse me, but I don't think you know what's in his best interest. I have been here every day since he was injured. Where have you been?
Oh, lady, you're so lucky that I'm in dream form. I presume I can't physically touch things. I don't know.
I'm waiting for Siren to just be like, I am his wife. Who are you?
Right?
I'm just waiting for the hoop
Seriously?
earrings to be taken out.
Oh, exactly.
Right? Just start throwing hands. She walks closer to you and says, "It is lucky you're here in the dream, because you can't touch me, and I can do this." And she taps your forehead, and you disappear from the dream and come to in the room with Leah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I'm so angry. This is why Ellie's so angry right now. So many people winding her up.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. She's got this
Yeah.
undertone, just like, my brother's like magically aged, and he's married, and it's
dude,
weird, and she's
Absolute. Oh my god, there are too many women having too much stuff to do with the men in my life. Oh, I'm so mad. Okay, but I don't know where she is. I didn't find out where she is. Where they
You
are.
Some kind of dwarven place.
Do you see how magically you don't have enough information to make any to justify making any movements in the last few days?
Yeah. It all makes sense.
It all works out.
It's all perfect and it makes sense.
And I desperately apologize for the age mix-up. I totally fucked that up. I feel really, really bad about that.
Sorry.
No,
Because that got weird.
No, it worked out. It worked out fine. We found our way to
We did.
something that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I am going to just say you're going to have to figure out a way for him to like have been taken out of time in order to progress and age in the actual fashion.
Maturity, yeah.
Like, speeding up the age, because then he's still a 10-year-old in a 17-year-old body, and we do not want to deal with that shit either.
Wait, isn't that what happened in Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time? Didn't you just sleep for 7 years, wake up, and you're 17, but you still had no new life experience? It worked for Nintendo. Why can't it work here?
Let's
Just
just
saying.
not. Let's just not.
I know you are right. It is an issue I will address because I don't want it to be weird.
We also don't want to be running D&D Nambler edition.
Yeah. Guys, can we just delete this episode right
All
here?
right, start over. Start over.
This is
We're
like
just gonna-
super
just gonna
solid
cut it.
episode. I was really happy with it, and then that happened. All right.
It's fine. It's working fine. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not bothered. Don't worry about it.
Alright.
Now I've got a woman to go and beat up. So.
All right.
Ellie's in top form.
We're gonna get back to the cool stuff. As you move closer to the city, you notice that the people just become more irrational. People seem to be just kind of hollering. People seem intoxicated. People seem to be just occasionally dancing in the middle of the streets, closer to the city. And as you get to the outskirts of the wall that leads to the Free City, Free Kingdom's part of Twin Harbor, you notice that there are just a stretch of encampments many of which flying different banners. Along them, you see a banner that represents the Trail Guard, um, a banner that represents the ISCB. There's a large section of tents with a banner flowing that shows the sigil of Seidan. So that would be their standing army. There are a few smaller encampments of different city states with their bits of militias and stuff, and there's a whole lot of sound just rising up from these encampments. So just revelry and music and and even further into the city itself, there are lights pouring up over the walls, and you can hear even more noise. And it seems like there is just massive celebration happening in the streets of Twin Harbor.
Eigner's the first one to be super confused by all of this joyous sound. And he'll turn to Ellie, he'll turn to Halifax and everyone else and just ask, This, what is happening? This doesn't make any sense. What can you all tell me what's going on over there?
Mardi Gras.
Eridu, looks down at his chest. His robes are just kind of like pretty much a vest, and he goes, "Well, I guess I'll be wearing plenty of necklaces tonight."
I don't understand how there are festivities happening in Twin Harbor at the moment.
Does seem out of character. Given Twin Harbor's, less recently now, but in the broader scheme of things, recent run-ins with drugs being festooned around the city, I think it might be worth investigating a little further and seeing if perhaps the water's been spiked.
Eigner just scoffs at that idea. I don't know how likely that is, but I don't know. I suppose with all the other crazy shit that's been going on, that's not too unlikely. Whatever. Is anyone going to mention to Eigner that there are like ISCB banners flying?
I think anything ISCB related, we just go, "Shh, don't tell them."
Also, I don't think Leah would recognize what those banners even mean. She's still pretty out of the loop with current politics and whatnot.
Well, that's something that would really concern Ellie, right?
Yeah. She's just in a bit of a mood with him. So I
For
don't
sure.
know.
For sure.
I think Halifax will mention it because if Eigner does any flamboyant displays, that could cause some issues. So I am going to say to the group as a whole, not singling Eigner out, the ISCB seems to be out publicly currently. I see some of their banners.
All right. Eigner freaks out.
Rue begins to crack his knuckles too.
No, Eigner hurriedly puts his arms around and tries to grab everyone and make them duck down a little bit and try and make themselves less visible. Try and grab everyone into a huddle and say, "Okay, change of plans. This encampment is compromised. We cannot go in. We cannot make our presence known. We can't use any flashy magic in the immediate vicinity. We have to be careful. We have to be quiet. We have to find another way into the city right now. Okay, are you ready? We're gonna go. Okay? Okay?
Yes.
All right. Quickly, quietly. I would say follow my lead, but I'm not sure which way the direction of the city is. But,
Quickly, quietly. Here we go. And he starts walking towards the ISCB tent.
Yeah. He'll say something like, "Okay, follow Ellie's lead. Ellie, come on, let's go."
Right? It's slightly bemused and okay, start walking a different direction.
To the city. We'll use the smuggler tunnels that Alan and I used when we rescued the private stock. Okay? we're on the correct side of the city. We just need to find the city wall, stay undetected, and follow the city wall until we find the right funny looking rock. Okay.
Okay.
Leah's gonna, follow all of this or whatever, but she is gonna cast glances back at the ISCB banner and like she's got kind of like itchy fingers. She wants to go cast remove curse on all of them because she
Yeah.
still remembers that that's a thing that she learned how to do for that very purpose. But perhaps another time.
For sure. Eigner will actually be so freaked out and so on high alert that he will make a small exception to his no magic use rule to cast a very sneaky spell. He's going to cast Pass Without Trace to give everyone a huge boost to their stealth checks so that they can stealthily approach the city. And he'll be muttering under his breath like, gosh, I really wish the ISCB wasn't around. I mean, it's, gosh. Because he was planning on talking to all those people in that encampment and saying, like, hey, everyone go back to Bronzewood Grove. It's way cooler over there, but Exnay, Exnay, Exnay.
It is okay, Egner. If they get too close, I will punch them. And then their magic,
Look,
it will go away.
Look, I know you will, Rue, but it's look, it's just not worth it. You know what? They're not worth your attention, Rue. You're too good for them.
Leah is still kind of concerned about the unexpected revelry, and I think I might have missed a little piece of what Halifax said. Did he suggest there was something in the water?
Yes, that there's probably something going on. Some drugs being passed around. You know how it is when a bunch of people get together and they start passing around the heroin pipes or whatever.
Because he knows so much about how drugs do.
I'm hip. I'm with it.
I did a drug one time.
Eridu is just giving Halifax this look. Just like...
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Leah will say, like, as after we're like past the encampment or out of it, so we can actually like talk. She'll say it almost seems like maybe there's something affecting people to make them behave in such a way that I would not expect. It just doesn't seem right for the situation.
We don't know until we've talked to anyone, or we've not. If we don't interact with them, we don't know what's going on with them. It could be any number of things, and I guess right now they don't look in danger as such. So,
are we just going to try to find someone else to talk to then?
I think
someone without the ISCB.
Yes, I think that's the important part here.
I should make the point these are separate encampments, so the different groups are staying in their own camps. Well, at least that's how the camps are set up. You can see from your vantage point that they are intermingling and going into other camps and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You can also see what looks to be a barricade set up counter the Twin Harbors wall, as well as it looks like there are the constructions of siege equipment.
Eigner will, if anyone asks him, he will believe that it is too much of a security risk to go into any of the encampments, knowing that the ISCB has a presence in this immediate area outside of the city. He is banking on the hope that the ISCB hasn't made it into the city in too great of numbers, so that we can be a little more open in, walking around and whatnot.
All right. What are you guys going to do as far as trying to get further on into the city then?
Well, Eigner's suggestion is to follow the wall of the city until they find a particular funny-looking rock in the base of the wall, which is the signal to the opening of the smuggler tunnels that he and Alan took when they liberated the private stock in the last episode.
All right then. Anybody else have any other ideas?
Not at this point. Leah's just gonna go along with things. Although she would be more tempted on her own to like go and try and talk to people, but
Hmm.
Okay.
So these are all encampments outside the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case I haven't made it clear enough, they are siege encampments built up to attempt to assault the Twin Harbors from the Free Kingdom side.
Mm-hmm.
And the last you guys
Yeah.
interacted with Twin Harbors, it was being invaded by the dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
do some of the encampments also have the Twin Harbors flags as well?
No.
Okay, so it's everyone else.
And although Leah wouldn't know this, Twin Harbors act before the war started actively remained neutral and refused to keep a standing army because they were a trade hub between both the Free Kingdoms and the Dwarven Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt that to start to build up an army would be to put themselves at risk of pissing off either country.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's obviously a target for either side of the conflict because it is such a strategic point in the region. You know,
Yeah,
the way that it's at the very mouth of this river that winds its way deeper into the continent, and then also, yeah, is just like the entrance to the open sea and the trading routes beyond.
And it is the safest way to pass the river, as it is a very violent river. And it's also a very wide river, so bridge construction all the way across it would not be very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Two quick questions.
Mhm.
Well, one's more of a statement than a question. Ein will be with us, just FYI on any sneaking things going on there. And the other one is, have we slept on this trip at all, or is this still?
Oh yeah, that was where I was saying you guys would have a moment for a long rest along the journey to Twin Harbors. You would have had time to rest.
Cool. All right. I'm all rested up. Ignor's good.
Hmm.
Good to go. Good to go. Got my new spells and everything.
I think this might be a good time for us to go ahead and take a break. That way we can come to a decision of how to get in the city and
Sure.
pick up in about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Hey, thanks
All
for
right.
thanks for joining us, y'all. We will be right back, and yeah, I'm really enjoying where this is going so far, and we'll keep it going just for you guys, just for you, for no one else. All right, thank you.